What key?
The key to open this magnificent door.
Oh, yes. So, we are Unity COML, Unity Comunidad de Luz, Community of Light. This is a new virtual bilingual ministry that has been serving for 6 years the Spanish audience in Spanish, of course. But as of the fall of this year, we will be introducing English. That means that we're going to have meditations in English, and every Sunday at 10 we will have Encuentro Espiritual in English, which is our dialogue show in which we just explore spiritual principles that can really enhance your spirituality. Are you looking forward to this?
You know what? I'm so excited because there is a lot of things that we've been working on, and now is the time to show up
and expand. So tune in, and we look forward to serving you. Namaste.
Blessings.
There is one big truth we have all witnessed, and it's that healing is possible. I am RevAna, and this is Rev Julie.
And future Reverend Oswaldo.
And we are here as part of the Unity COML, Unity Community of Light, a new bilingual virtual ministry that has opened up a space in English with a new series called Healing is Possible. It will start this fall, and it will be the exploration of Julie's journey with her daughter, Leslie, who was diagnosed with a gene-based disease that had no cure. And through prayer and through her transformation towards love, everything shifted. So join us on Sundays at 10 a.m. Encuentro Espiritual, English. Unity is a positive path for spiritual living that recognizes the beauty of every spiritual philosophy. It aims at supporting people in their quest for a healthy and prosperous life, a life of significance. RevAna Quintana and Oswaldo Mora, leaders of the bilingual ministry Unity Community of Light, are here every Sunday morning to bless you with either an inspiring dialogue and or meditation based on the powerful Unity teachings that we are certain will lead you to a space of deep personal transformation. Please be welcome to Encuentro Espiritual, English. Good morning, everyone, and please be welcome to Encuentro Espiritual in English. This is Unity Community of Light, Comunidad de Luz, and I am Reverend Ana Quintana, and I am here seated next to Oswaldo Mora, who's been my partner in this journey in the ministry. We've been together now for almost 4 years. Almost 4 years. And for the last 3, we've been doing this Encuentro Espiritual show every Sunday morning in Spanish. But today we're making history because of 2 things. One is that we are doing it in English, so it really feels really weird, but we'll get used to it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and we are making history because I have my dearest friend and mentor, Rev Julie Johnson. Good morning, Julie.
Morning.
How are you?
Oh, good, thank you. It's nice to be here.
It's great to be here, and you will surely know why she's here today as we start on this journey of doing Encuentro Espiritual in English. As you know, we are a virtual bilingual community that really it's truly committed to bringing the core unity principles of prosperity, guidance, and healing to those who are in need of changing their lives. This is what it's all about. It's about transforming our consciousness so that life conditions may change. And it is possible when we open up and we give ourselves to the journey. So today we are starting this show in English, and we are starting with a series that we have named Healing is Possible. And right from the start, we're saying that it's possible for you and for everyone. And we are going to be sharing the principles that, when practiced, will definitely work and at some level bring transformation and renewal. And this is why Julie is going to be with us over the next 10 weeks, sharing her own personal story of healing, in which she was able to be a channel of healing for her dearest daughter, Leslie. And we'll be hearing more about your story soon, and this is what today will be all about. But before we get into what we're here to do today, we would love to show you a clip from Unity Worldwide Ministries, or actually Unity World Headquarters, on the healing story of the co-founder of Unity, Myrtle Fillmore, so that you may, right from the start, understand what we really will be talking about. Let's see it.
She's known as Myrtle Fillmore, the co-founder of Unity, along with her husband Charles Fillmore. But she was born Mary Carolyn Page on August 6, 1845, the seventh of 9 children. As a child, she adopted the name Myrtle and would later reject the teachings of her strict religious parents. Ever since she was a little girl, Myrtle had been sick. At a young age, she contracted tuberculosis. For many years, she believed she was incurably weak and sickly.
I had all the ills of mind and body that I could bear. Medicine and doctors ceased to give me relief, and I was in despair.
That was until Myrtle discovered new spiritual ideas and principles we now call Unity. The year was 1886, and Myrtle was in her early 40s. She and her husband Charles attended a lecture by metaphysician Dr. E.B. Weeks of Chicago. Myrtle left the talk with a stronger faith and an understanding of her innate divine potential for healing through affirmative prayer.
It flashed upon me that I might talk to the life in every part of my body and have it do just what I wanted. I began to teach my body and got marvelous results.
Instead of seeing her body as weak, inefficient, and diseased, she began speaking words of strength and power to every part of her body: her liver, stomach, abdomen, limbs, eyes, and heart.
I didn't get discouraged at their being slow to wake up, but kept right on, both silently and aloud, declaring words of truth until they did respond. And neither did I forget to tell them that they were free, unlimited spirit. I told them they were the centers of life and energy, omnipresent.
Myrtle began regularly affirming,
I am a child of God, and therefore I do not inherit sickness.
By repeating this affirmation, Myrtle believed she was going to get better. And 2 years later, she did. In 1888, she was healed of the tuberculosis condition that had threatened her life. Myrtle remained committed to blessing and encouraging her body with true thoughts and words.
I became very watchful as to what I thought and said. I didn't let any worried or anxious thoughts into my mind. And I stopped speaking gossipy, frivolous, petulant, angry words.
Myrtle was excited by her healing discovery, and so were her family and friends. She began working with others in need of healing. In time, her husband Charles Fillmore began his own practice of prayer and meditation. He began to heal from an ice skating accident he had at age 10. In 1889, inspired by Myrtle's transformation, the Fillmores founded the Unity Movement in Kansas City, Missouri, as a healing ministry based on the power of prayer and the power of thoughts to create reality. In 1890, the couple pioneered a prayer outreach that grew into silent unity. the 24-hour, 7-day-a-week prayer ministry that still serves the world today.
I want everybody to know about this beautiful, true law and to use it. It is not a new discovery, but when you use it and get the fruits of health and harmony, it will seem new to you, and you will feel that it is your own discovery.
Her work lives on through Silent Unity and the inspiring manuscripts and personal papers in the Myrtle Fillmore collection at the Unity Library and Archives. The collection is being digitized for online access. To learn more or help support this effort, visit unity.org.
So I hope you all liked it. Julie, we have been invited today to share a story that when I learned about it like 20-something years ago, really shifted me in understanding the amazing power of consciousness and prayer. It helped me to understand that we are not victims of unchangeable genes. It helped me understand that we don't need to be scared of any medical prognosis. It really showed me how all of these principles of truth based on the idea of our wholeness and our perfection do work. I have healed myself from a really difficult case of cancer. It's been 12 years that I've been cancer-free because I practice these principles. And I know many people in the movement have done it, and I know you have. So before we get you to open up and share the story, we'd love to get a reaction from my compañero. How do you say compañero? My partner. Yeah, my partner, because he's in the healing arts. Mm-hmm. So we'd love to get some feedback from you right from the start as we prepare to hear Julie's story.
As I was watching the video, the basic part of this is that Myrtle Fillmore changed the direction of her energy, of whatever she was seeing. She wasn't. First, we was born in this world where everything is given. As is. Uh-huh. But then she realized that if I am a divine creation, I'm not supposed to experience this. So I need to see in a new direction. And that's the basic point, that's the beginning. And shamanism, of course, works like that. Shamanism doesn't treat the symptoms. Shamanism works straight to the cause, because something is causing that. Something is calling your attention. Something is telling you, hey, move from wherever you are. And basically what I said is, don't let someone tell you how long you're going to live. Put that in your hands. After that, put that in your heart. And then we can talk about how we can do new things.
It's interesting that you're mentioning that, because as we were preparing for this show today, I was doing some research on how can we validate what you're going to share to us about the possibility that we can actually accomplish remissions. And one of the things that this particular case study, and we're going to show our people, this is a doctor who's an integrative oncologist. Her name is Kelly Turner, and she spent 10 years of her life studying people who work in chronic disease or terminal diseases. And she went all over the world, and she studied 1,500 people. She interviewed 250 of them. And her conclusion was that There were 9 things that they all did that led to healing. And only 2 of the 9 were physical in nature. All the others were essentially mental and spiritual. And I would like to have our production teams show, besides in terms of the physical, would be radically changing your diet and doing vitamins and supplements. But the other 7, the first one, and it's really related to what you just said, Oswaldo, that it's taking ownership, it's taking control of your health. It's following your intuition, it's releasing suppressed emotions, it's increasing positive emotions, embracing social support, deepening your spiritual connection, and having a strong reason for living. This is evidence-based, that all the people who actually engaged in these 9 things healed. So today we're here with Julie because I highlighted, and that's what you just saw in the graphic, that deepening your spiritual connection, it's essentially what this lady did in bringing healing to her sick child. So now, that's enough of me. Julie, tell us your story.
Well, I like what you said, because deepening my spiritual connection was number 1. I was not a very spiritual person. I was just a normal, ordinary young woman, and just lived my life without much spiritual connection at all. And then I had my first child. I looked forward to her for so long, and when I found out she was a girl, all my life I wanted a little girl. That's what I wanted. And then when she was a sick baby. She wasn't well. She had a lot of problems. She had indigestion. She seemed to be allergic to everything we gave her, and so we took her off of everything that you can imagine. Put her on, took milk away from her, took fats, took just about everything, sugar, you name it. We took it away, and we tried to change it, and we tried to give her the best foods possible, but nothing seemed to work. And when she was 5 years old, her doctor, her pediatrician, said to me, maybe has she ever been tested for cystic fibrosis? Cystic fibrosis is a almost always fatal disease, and it is a gene-based disease. In order for a child to be born with that, both the mother and the father have to carry the gene. I had never heard of it. So he said, take her to Children's Hospital and have her tested. And she was tested twice because the doctors could not believe that she had it. I couldn't believe that she had it. I insisted on a second test. And the second test not only came out positive, but she had a very serious, extreme case of cystic fibrosis. And the doctor told me, if everything goes perfectly well and nothing goes wrong, she could live to be 7 years old.
She was 5 when
She was 5 years old at the time. So he said, and she was getting ready to go to kindergarten. So the doctor said, take her home and be good to her, and tell her kindergarten teacher so she'll be especially kind to her. And that's how I left the hospital, heartbroken. And I went through a period of terrible emotional trauma, became very depressed, became very angry with God. How could you do this to my child? And my mother said, the sins of the fathers are visited unto the children for the 3rd and 4th generation. That was her favorite Bible verse. So she felt that I had not been very religious and I hadn't gone to church, and so God was punishing me by giving me this disease to my child. And so I became very bitter and very depressed. And
you had 2 more, right? You had 2 more?
I had 2 babies. I had a 3-month-old and a 15-month-old little boy to take care of as well.
And we're on your own, right?
And then my husband decided he wanted to leave, so he left us. And there I was alone with these 3 children. To say that I was suicidal is light. because I really felt like if it weren't for my children, I probably would have done that because I was so depressed. And so one day somebody said to me, you know, I've got a friend, a psychologist that can help you. Maybe you should go see her. So I went to see the psychologist, and she was trying to help me with my situational depression. And nothing seemed to come up until one day she said to me, Julie, tell me about something that you really loved when you were a little girl. And I said, what I loved more than anything in the whole world was school. I loved school. And my favorite month of the year was September because it meant that school started. And she jumped on that. She said, well, have you ever thought of going to graduate school? And I said, yeah, I'd love to go to graduate school, but right now I've got all these problems. She said, well, go to the local college and sign up for a class. And I said, I will sign up for French because I want to get a doctorate and I need to have two languages. So since I already spoke Spanish, I signed up for French. And in that French class, the first thing the teacher said was, he pointed to a man that was sitting in the back, and he said, that is Lauren. His name is Lauren Johnson, and he's going to be your conversational French partner. So we started practicing conversational French together, and we got to be friends. And one day he said to me, why is it that such a beautiful woman never smiles? And I said, have you got an hour? Really sarcastic like that. And he said, yes, as a matter of fact, I do. So to make a long story short, we met. He introduced me to his mother, who was a healing practitioner. And she helped me to totally change my life completely and lift my consciousness completely. And because she said, before you can help Leslie, you have to move to that place of faith and that place of love, and that you have to give up all this negative stuff that you say. And that was really scary for me because I was a pretty negative woman. And for me to have to change my whole life in order for my child to be healed was kind of difficult. I didn't know how I could do it. So she helped me day by day to start to experience love instead of fear, and to watch my words and watch my actions and start meditating and change my entire life from being a very negative person who was always spreading fear instead of extending love. And so I started watching my words and watching everything I did to make sure that I was now basically speaking and experiencing and expressing love in all my actions. I was a school teacher, so I was very loving to my students and very loving to my children and to everybody that I knew. And every time I said something really negative, I'd catch it. I was paying attention, and I would try to change it. So, and every day when she saw me, she said, Julie, are you working with love or fear today? And I would go to bed at night and I would read, before I'd go to sleep, I would say, did I extend love today or was it fear? And then I would try to retrace that and change it. I became very conscious of that for a very long time. And then what I told her I wanted more than anything was a spontaneous remission. So the doctor said to me, people with gene-based diseases don't have spontaneous remissions. And so I started reading about cases. I just drove myself crazy with looking up books where people actually had spontaneous remissions. And even though she told me it's impossible for a gene-based disease to have a spontaneous remission, but I started to hold the thought.
Alice said, or who? Who said that it was impossible? The doctor?
The doctors.
Oh, the doctors.
All of medical science said.
Yeah.
Everything I read medically said that's impossible. But Alice convinced me, her name was Alice, the person that was working with me, and she convinced me that if I really believed it with all my heart, that I could bring it into expression. So I started to believe it. People started laughing at me. My family would laugh. They'd go, she is crazy. You can't have a spontaneous remission from cystic fibrosis. Nobody ever has. But I I held to that thought because Alice told me it was possible, and I totally believed it with my heart and soul. And the truth is that one day when she was almost 8, she was 7 years old, 3 or 4 months away from her 8th birthday, Leslie had a spontaneous remission. And she just totally, her life totally changed. Everything changed. The 15 pills a day that she was taking, we stopped taking. She said, I don't need to take those pills anymore, Mom, because I'm healed. I'm perfect now. And all of the symptoms of the disease disappeared, and the cough disappeared. And eventually, perhaps I'll give you more details of how that happened, but it did happen. And her life was extended for 43 years. And she ended up being the oldest person with the disease in California when she passed. She lived to be 50 years old.
Wow. And Julie, what did you actually, when you started working with a practitioner, was it a lot of like affirmative prayer? I mean, besides really cleansing yourself from all the wounding and the resentment and the pain and being aware of how being in a consciousness and a vibration of love was key into bringing healing to your daughter, because that's probably your biggest incentive, was to see if I really want to help my daughter. The practitioner made you aware that you need to heal the healer first.
Right.
So besides working on yourself, what was the actual work you were doing with Leslie? Was it affirmative prayer?
It was affirmative prayer, and I would repeat with her, I'm a child of God, so I do not inherit sickness. Myrtle Fillmore's affirmation was a really big one because I had read about Myrtle Fillmore, and she would say, whenever she would say, I'm sick, Mommy, I would say, no, you're not sick. You're whole and perfect. You're a perfect child of God. There is no sickness in you, and that sort of thing. So we were always affirming that she was whole and perfect, and that she was she had God healing love inside of her, so therefore she's going to express it. And
were you able to, because what I gather from the story is that even though you were in a different place in consciousness, there was something in you that was there, was real, was your essence, was awakening. So whatever the practitioner was telling you, it resonated with you, and you had faith, like an innate faith, right?
I did. I mean, the practitioner helped me to have that, because I didn't have that at first. I thought, please, this isn't going to work. Mm-hmm. But she convinced me that if I could just lift my own consciousness first, that I would be able to help Leslie, but it had to begin with me. And then she would feel that essence around her, and she would start to move up in that direction as well. But it was me. We worked on me for a long time before we started even thinking about Leslie.
Oh, wow.
The thing is, at that moment you were experiencing that as you are the beginning of that. So you were the one who were supposed to change the direction of the things. I remember that when my kid Daniel was born, and he started coughing, having this allergic situation, so we were taking him every week to the doctor, to the pediatrician. And remember, he told me, you get to used to it. You have to get used to it because your child
the doctor?
Your child is asthmatic. And I said, what? Maybe it's you, the one who is asthmatic, not my child. I know, at that time, there wasn't the perfect,
you had no filters.
So I remember that I took my child and I said, this is a perfect creation. This is a son of God, so I don't accept that. So the doctor said, you will have to accept that. And I said, no. I took him and get out of the hospital. And then I told Marlene, my love, this is what happened with the doctor, and I don't accept that. And I know that there should be another treatment for these cases. And that is where she started studying aromatherapy. And
Yeah.
Daniel.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's never had any situation, and that opens the opportunity for us to experience aromatherapy healing and other kinds of healings. So then Marlene became a master in aromatherapy, creating a lot of stuff, and that's how it works. If we pretend to fix things in the same place that it got broke, it doesn't going to be like that. So we must change the direction. I always remember that Master Jesus said to Peter, send the net to the right.
Right.
So to the right means to the understanding.
Right.
Possibilities.
See, to the possibilities. And then it's where you see the miracles.
Right.
The miracle doesn't going to happen here, because here is where the situation.
Right.
But I need to see other possibilities, because that's the way how God works in us.
You know, interesting that I had the same situation with my oldest daughter, and I went like same way. I'm not accepting this. And in my case, what happened was that a lady who was like her babysitter had a lot of like homemade recipes. Or like healing formulas, and she made something with savila, aloe vera, and onions, and some weird mixture, but it healed her, and for good. And what I wanted to react to that, but also say something that I'm having an aha moment as I'm hearing you, and seeing that you have both develop yourself as spiritual leaders, and how your children were the instruments that really, through their own conditions, brought you to the path you were meant to be at.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, and that's really true. But unlike Oswaldo, I didn't believe it was possible. You know, I believed the doctor. I went home crying and became depressed and became a crazy woman.
Like,
really,
that was the only reality.
Because I was going to lose my child, and I lived with that for a few years. And it wasn't until I met this woman who tried to convince me differently, you know. But it didn't even start to change until I started believing it. I started changing my mind, like you, Oswaldo. I just had to believe it myself.
And this is essentially what this series it's all gonna be about, because many of you who might be watching or who have access to this series might find yourself in a place where they're not giving you options.
Right.
And there's some level in you that is accepting that. And if you have come to this place, there must be another level of you that is saying, there's hope, there's another direction, there are possibilities that are opening up, but that there has to definitely be an opening in our hearts, in our minds, and this is what the series will be all about. What is it that, in Julie's case, we're gonna go deeper. This is like almost like an appetizer to the meal, but we're going to explore the four things that really help her co-create healing for her daughter and herself, because she had to heal first, and through that healing she became ultimately a spiritual healer that has helped many others, has helped me. I really feel that without presence of people like Julie in my cancer journey, it would have been really difficult for me to heal also. So we will be exploring in the coming weeks how the first thing she had to do, and many of us have to do, is really being willing to step into the unknown, into a place of where we don't have any reference. Not looking back, but looking ahead. The second one is like the power of love, and how it is love that heals. Then we will go and explore how it's crucial that we start, once we do all this prayer work, that we act as if. That our prayer and our actions are in coherence. Otherwise, we are contradicting ourselves. It might take a while for us to get to that place, but that's the place we need to be. And the last one would be how to become more and more aware of the value of protecting our consciousness. Not only in us, but seeing how, if we really are not paying attention, how other people's consciousness can influence the dynamic we're experiencing. And the way we're going to be doing this is that every week we're going to have a dialogue, and then we'll give you an opportunity to explore what we have shared, and then show up the next week for some deeper meditation, affirmations, and then come back to another dialogue. And then the upcoming week will be again affirmations and meditation, because it's really this series is not necessarily for you to be entertained, but for your consciousness to really shift. And it's beyond us doing it. We need your involvement. And the involvement means you're going to show up for the next 12 weeks. We're doing 10 weeks together, but there's a bonus towards the end of the series I will let you know more about. Closing statements, really quick, so we can...
Well, my closing statement is that I spent my life thinking about multiplying love instead of extending fear.
And you have shifted.
And I have shifted.
And that's the way to healing, right?
Right, and that's the way to healing.
In terms of power, whatever I believe is going to be true. So if I believe it's possible, it's going to be. If I believe it's not possible, that's going to be true.
And what we're saying with this series is that healing is possible. So join us next week for more affirmative work and meditation, and may you have a wonderful rest of the week. Namaste.
Namaste.
Aho.